Please support the channel with the link directly below that allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like the charts, you like the indicators, please let me know that by supporting the channel today. Most YouTube channels have sponsors. I choose not to do that. I get these exchanges they want to send you to, get you all leveraged up to wipe you out, or send you to websites that want to take advantage of you. I don't want to do that. I just want to share Bitcoin with you and my amazing indicators. So I just ask that you just partner with me and do what you can to help out. Anything helps out. But if you could take a moment to step up to the plate and help out, I would really, really appreciate that. Rather than sponsors, getting sponsors to support my channel, I just ask that you partner with me directly. Let me know you want this information rather than for me to go golfing or something. So I need to hear from you in order to make it work. Just follow the link below. It'll take you to a secured site and you can donate any amount you want. I thank you for your consideration for that. I'm getting bottoming signals, as I've said, and I think we're going to get a bounce. I think you're going to get a very, very dramatic sell-off. But I'm getting right here, back-to-back bottoming signals right here. Back just before the peak there, I was getting warning signs up the top. This is one of the signals that I use to call the day of the bottom. Sometimes these signals, they show up and you get them and then you go a little lower. Sometimes you get them and you go a little higher. Sometimes you get them and you turn immediately. The top, we got the signals. We went higher for one more day and then we turned. So again, do we go a little bit lower and turn? It'd make for a nice 5-leg push lower if we did. I'm just warning you, I expect a bottom and a bounce, short-term bottom. But then once the counter trend is done, I think the bottom is going to fall out of Bitcoin and it's going to move towards 74,000. Getting bottoming signals, but signals still remain bearish. Again, my trending signals are still bearish. In order for the bulls to get a bigger rally, you got to flip my signals back to bullish. The bottoming signals are going to give us a bounce, a Fibonacci retracement. Last one, we got a bullish signal, but it reverted right back to bearish. You may see something like that happen on some of my signals. I'm getting some warning signs that, again, we could get a bounce. Now, maybe, again, we get one more push down and then get it. But right here, yesterday, we got this signal saying, hey, be on the lookout for a bounce. Again, beautiful signal formed at the top. I warned about these topping signals. I had multiple signals warn me of the top. Got topping signals on this October 6th, 7th, and 8th. I thought back then that we had a top. Been saying it ever since. You see, when I'm presented with evidence, I change. My signals are suggesting a bounce. Still bearish bars right here. You got to flip them back to bullish. Absolutely incredible signals. Look at that peak of stinking boo, huh? I had a bullish signal here previously, as I warned you a few days ago. It went away, canceled out. It was unconfirmed, but signals are still bearish. We rally back up. Or go lower and then rally back up again. I'll be watching to see if we just rally to the 200 and the 50 as they get a death cross. Signals can still remain bearish even if we get a big rally back up, or they might turn briefly bullish and then revert back to bearish. My signals, which are correct, remain bearish, but I am getting bottoming signals. Be on the lookout for a bottom around the 50-week moving average and Bitcoin's average price, and I think it's very likely we're going to bounce there. What I've been telling you since the top. And again, look at my topping signal back over here. Warned you about that back at the top. Got a bottoming signal here. Not a major bottoming signal, though. So again, we had a beautiful topping signal at the top. And this one right here for the counter trend. Again, I think you're going to try to retrace some of this. Whether we get another push down and then do it or not remains to be seen. So far, we've dropped nearly 22%. I think you'll get a bounce. Are still bearish here. Absolutely incredible reversal signals at the top. Same reversal signals I got in July and in August. And with the Fed right here. These bottoming signals, absolutely amazing. Don't forget my weekly charts are still a bearish warning of a top. Again, I think you're going to bounce around the 50-week right here and then eventually head down towards 74,000 over here. Again, the massive head and shoulders. My signals are still bearish. We get a bounce, and then we'll see still around the 200 period moving average in the daily time frame. No bottoming signal here. We don't have to get one, but again, oftentimes the topping and bottoming signals show up before you get a bounce. My guess is you're going to get a bounce around Bitcoin's average price back up towards the 200 period, but probably see the signals remain bearish or flip back to bullish briefly and then revert right back to bearish. Got some bottoming signals warning here, but again, sometimes you get them and you go a little bit lower. Sometimes you get them and you go a little higher. So again, programmed it to generate more signals with short-term price fluctuation. So we still are at risk of getting another push down, so do keep that in mind. Do you think you're going to bounce surrounding the 50-week moving average of Bitcoin's average price? This may get another push down first. If we do attempt to rally, again, the purple line here is going to act as resistance. You might overthrow it like we did over here, but it's declining. So again, when you were declining over here, you overthrew it a couple times here, and then you rallied back up to it. It was resistance. Again, you're probably going to see something very similar to what we had over here. And over here it was support. And then we started going sideways, back and forth. So again, if we do rally, the purple line, you should rally towards it or just above it, and then fall back below it would be a very bearish signal that you're likely resuming the decline and the counter trend is done. If we get the counter trend, I believe we're going to get, which I think we're going to get it, boys and the experts will proclaim it's over. And then you're going to see a much larger liquidation move than what we've seen back earlier in the month of October. We're in a downtrend right here, and again, the signal's bearish. Got a beautiful reversal off of the 116,000 area. Bars are red. Even if you rally back up, even if you overthrow the line here, again, you did it over here, and you were still in this longer-term downtrend. So again, I think you're going to eventually get a counter trend and a bounce off the 50-week moving average. Then I think you're going to come down and see the bottom begin to fall out of Bitcoin back towards the April low. No bottoming signal here. You don't have to get one. Signal still bearish here. Buy into the rally whatsoever into the October high. Break of the trend line and back test. A lot of my indicators, you could rally all the way back up to the 200 period moving average and beyond it and still have signals bearish. Again, this just shows where short-term tops and bottoms could come in. Looking at short-term price fluctuations, again, getting a signal here. If we rally back up, the purple line is likely resistance. That's near the 200 period moving average in the daily time frame. You could rally back up towards the 200 and the 50 and still have many signals still bearish, where they can revert back to turn bullish and then revert back to bearish shortly thereafter if we get a counter trend, which I think is what is likely is going to be the case. Here I'm getting some bottoming signals as well, again suggesting we're going to get this rally back up to the 50 and 200 as they get a death cross, maybe even overthrow them. But probably not move above 116,000. But again, another signal. Did a great job of calling the top. This will probably be a counter trend, much like what we had over here, much like what we had over here. We're here, and again, each time you move to new lows. Weekly charts are still warning of a potential top. The topping signal, validated bars flipping back to red. Same thing here in the weekly time frame. Again, signal's still bearish here. Eventually, I think we get a short-term bottom and then another counter trend that gives us a lower high somewhere below 116,000 for Bitcoin. Okay, it is the Saturday session for Bitcoin. Bitcoin here on the Saturday session is down 1.25%. On Friday, it ended up closing by 1.95% higher. And again, you're seeing this consolidation around Bitcoin's average price. I warned you, again, this is where likely to see a bounce. Listen carefully. It's still possible we get another little push down first, but regardless which way it plays out, likely to get a bounce here and move back towards the 200 period and move back towards this trend line right here, which slightly moved on me. Let me fix it there. Again, boys are already doing it. They're already saying it's a bullish falling wedge. And as what happened is we've lost the 200 period, the black line right here, taken out 100,000. We've come down to the high 98,000 area, just above this low 98,000 area, 98,333. This is the Bitcoin historical price data. I told you back at the top when the Moon Boys were telling us we had a breakout. It's a breakout. I told you we were going to go down towards 100,000, test 98,000, and oh gee, I was right. I told you we go down to Bitcoin's average price. We would go down to the 50-week moving average, and I talked about this in great length of detail in my last update, that we would bounce there and probably going to bounce back towards the 250 or maybe overthrow them, retracing this move down, and maybe it's not quite done yet, but retracing this and coming back up and testing these moving averages, and then you're going to see the next liquidation move for Bitcoin. Again, at the top, again, I believe Bitcoin is topped. We hit major resistance in July, again in August, and then in October. I think it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. I think the 4-year cycle is intact. I know that the people that can't come to terms with reality, you got a lot of so-called experts and whales. Oh, we're now in the 5-year cycle. And these people are in denial that we're about to move into recession, and it's probably going to be, recession's going to start in the next couple months here. And I think December, January, you're going to start seeing markets dramatically drop. The Fed will panic. We're going to start seeing some real evidence of recession. And again, we just got it. Got the consumer sentiment. You go watch my last video on my Ron Walker channel. In the first 3 minutes, I cover it and I show you, again, the consumer sentiment is predicting we're about to start a recession. Inverted yield curve is predicting we're about to start a recession. There are several indicators. The Psalm rule with the unemployment rate and many other things are predicting that recession is about to start, and people are just in denial. And again, Bitcoin is going to price in that recession. The stock market will price in that recession. And the lie will be, oh, Bitcoin's going to be the flight to safety. Bitcoin is the asset with the most volatility. It's going to be hit the hardest. It's going to drop 80 or 90%. People get delusional. They get in denial. Now, again, I have seen with my indicators, which are correct, which correctly call the day of the top, warned you going into that rally, into the resistance, that we may top there. A lot of people, because I presented both a bullish and bearish scenario, they don't want to hear the bearish scenario. They only want to hear the bullish scenario. I've seen evidence, and my signals are turning and giving me evidence that we've likely topped here. People that want me to still ignore my signals and still say we have the bullish case intact. Until we confirm a bear market, the bulls still have a chance, but the chance right now is slim to none. Now, what would turn me back to bullish is if my signals, which are correct, turn bullish in the daily time frame, you go make new highs, and you see my signals in the weekly time frame all validate that, and you clear resistance, which we turned off of here at this trend line of resistance. Bitcoin's going to try to bottom out here, or maybe get one more push down and try to bottom out here and rally back up towards these moving averages, maybe even overthrow them, but try to retrace this as we get a death cross. Then I think Bitcoin is going to get another liquidation move that's going to make this look like a church picnic. Okay, it's gonna get a liquidation move down towards 74,000. And again, as I've said, by January, I believe Bitcoin will be somewhere between down 41%, 52%. I've made it no secret. Again, I believe that Bitcoin by January, maybe as early as December, but by January, I think it will have dropped. Bitcoin will have dropped 41%. 41% drop is down to 74,000. If we do what we did in the last bear market, you drop 52% in, about 10 weeks or so, 10 and a half weeks, 2.5 months or so. Then I think you're down, you drop 52%. If we get a 50% drop, you're going to 63,000. 52% would be 60,000. Oh, people just scoff at that. Well, that's what Bitcoin has done in the past. You get these 40 to 50% drops to kick off the bear markets. Bitcoin broke the trend line right here. I told you it was going to back test these trend lines. It did back test the trend line from the April low. You formed a bear flag. That broke down. You hit 116,000. I don't think you're moving above 116,000 again. The only hope if we do is if you have a leading diagonal, you get a bigger retracement back up. If the bulls can turn it around, how this move is corrective, and we somehow dodge a recession, Fed is cutting rates. The herd believes this is bullish. It's bearish. It's doing this because to enter recession. Going to be associated with the recession. Seeing the evidence of a banking crisis. Herd, the moon boys are going, oh, the Fed's injecting all this money into the bank. It's QE. Here we go. Injecting money into the banks because the banks are at risk of collapsing. A financial crisis starting, and the moon boys are so gone. They're so far gone, so addicted to QE, they can't see what's going on. And that's that we're entering the banking crisis that I've been warning you about. Bitcoin, by January, in my opinion, is going to be down here. At least that's what it's done in the past when it started bear markets. It's dropped 40 or 50% to kick it off. I think the Fed will panic down here somewhere, either at 74,000 or 63,000, or maybe a little bit lower if we do what we did with the last bear market. And you'll get a massive rally back up towards 100,000. Maybe you don't reach 100,000. Maybe you overthrow it. We did over here. This is about 109,000, I think. 108, 109,000, whatever. But I think you're forming this massive head and shoulders. But I think you're going to drop, and I think the Fed will panic. So this is the blueprint of what I think is going on here, or I should say the roadmap where I think we're going. I think, again, hitting Bitcoin's average price, and this is what I used, horizontal support and Bitcoin's average price, to call the very day of the bottom back in April. And again, it got very, very bullish. I was presented with evidence that the bottom was in, and my signals, which are excellent, told me the bottom is in. My signals up here are warning me that we are at risk of having topped. People want me to ignore my signals. I really don't care which way Bitcoin goes, up, down. I'm a trader. I really don't care. On here, when I called a bottom, everybody thought there was no hope. Told you Bitcoin would go make new highs. Signals tell me to be bullish, I'll be bullish. When my signals tell me to be bearish, I'll be bearish. I'm not interested in being a perma-bull or a perma-bear. I'm interested in making money. Make money on the long side, I make money on the short side. Now, my signals are warning me there's risk of more downside. Now, I think we're going to bounce here, and I think you're going to get a recovery back up to the 250 as they get a death cross. But this is eventually where I think we're headed, and I think we're headed there by January. Yeah, if I pick January, I think that, again, the Fed started cutting in September. To get these cuts, we got a cut in October, and that was been associated with selling pressure. We've seen the stock market peak at major resistance, playing catch up to Bitcoin. Back in 2021, for Bitcoin peaked first, and a few weeks later, the stock market peaked. NASDAQ, that's what we're seeing 3.5 weeks later. Now we're seeing evidence that NASDAQ and S&P are now peaking. Got a confirmed reversal this week off of major resistance with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. These charts, again, this is the weekly chart of Bitcoin, turning off of this trend line from the previous highs. And again, you've got the potential head and shoulders. If the head and shoulders plays out, you come down, you take out the 200-week moving average. Head and shoulders target is to 25,000. That's an 80% drop for Bitcoin. The bear markets for Bitcoin have been 78% to 93%. Don't want to hear that. So I expect Bitcoin, because we're going to have a recession, I think it's going to drop 80 to 90%, and I think it'll drop more than 80%. This one was 78%. Over here it was 84%, I believe, or 86%. The one before that. 80 to 90% takes you to the 11, 12,000 to 25,000 area. 91% drop would be 11,000. I think you're coming back to the trend line here from the 2018 low to the 2020 low, and I think that's pointing to the next low. You have a really large channel there. And I think that's going to take us into late 2026, more likely in the first half somewhere of 2027. Markets have gone on for Bitcoin for about a year. This one could be longer because you're going to be associated with a bad recession and a banking crisis. Bitcoin is not going to escape that. It's going to have a wrecking ball taken to it. Just don't realize. I think you're going to break this trend line right here eventually. I think you're going to bounce, but then I think you're going to break it. And then I think you'll get a throwback back up towards it to get that head and shoulders pattern. I keep warning you that, again, since the top, I've been talking about this Wyckoff distribution, these previous highs. Did it right here, exactly what we did, the Wyckoff distribution, schematic pattern number 1. Following this thing spot on. And again, the distribution that's taking place, you're probably going to get one more rally back up towards the 50 and 200, and then you're going to see a massive liquidation move moving down towards a test of the April low at 74,000. You are following this distribution pattern, Wyckoff distribution model. As far as the Elliott wave count goes, I think you're already in crash wave 3. I think we've got at the top over here in October, I think you've got a 5-leg push down for 1. Primary wave 1. I think you've got an ABC backup for a bear flag for wave 2. I think you're now in primary wave 3, and I think right now you're getting this first wave down. Maybe it's done with a truncated 5th right here. Maybe you get one more push down. I don't know. Elliott wave speculation. But I'm expecting that we're going to bottom and we're going to rally back up towards the 200 on the daily chart. This is the 4-hour chart right here. And again, you still have this 50 below the 200. You're probably going to rally back up towards this 200 here. Probably rally back up towards the 200 in the daily. Even overthrow it. But again, I'm going to be looking for a Fibonacci retracement. This move down may not be done yet. But again, if it is, counting Bitcoin's average price in the 50-week moving average, again, I'd expect a move, a rally back towards the 200 in the daily as the 50 crosses the 200 for a death cross. We already have the death cross here in the 4-hour time frame. I think that we've either completed this first intermediate wave down. You're going to get intermediate wave 1 and 2 here, to intermediate wave 2 back up for a Fibonacci retracement, or intermediate wave 1 is not done yet. We get one more push down. Here it is in the daily time frame, and again, the wave 1 down, the wave 2, 116,000. I don't think we exceed 116,000 this cycle anymore. I think that's it. I think that was the final exit point. Now, the only other way is if the bulls can regain control and we flip everything back to bullish, or if we have a leading diagonal, you might exceed 116,000 again. If we drop down and we have a leading diagonal, that's an alternative count I have, but I think it's less likely. Now, if we got one more push down, it would be a nice 5-leg push lower. I'll show you on the other 4-hour chart. But again, I think you've got primary wave 1 and 2 done. I think you're now in primary wave 3, crash wave 3, as I call it. I think you're starting to get the first intermediate waves. And if we complete intermediate wave 1 here with one more push down, you get intermediate wave 2 back up to the 50, 200, or maybe even overthrow a retracement of this, then the next thing is going to be the intermediate wave 3 of primary wave 3. It's going to be a massive crash wave, and it's going to be a massive liquidation that's going to make this look like a church picnic over here. And all these people that told us this sell-off was never going to happen, so far we've dropped nearly 22% under that. It's going to scare the pants off some people. People that are telling us it's not going to happen. Get a 50% drop, it could take out 74,000 over here. It could look something more like this. It may not be to this extreme, and I am expecting a 40 to 50% drop to kick off the bear market. We may find support at 74,000. That's why I keep saying 40, 1% or so. We rally up into a death cross. Again, it's good chance to confirm a bear market. You're going to see something like this happen. If Bitcoin did get one more push down, it would be a nice structure for a 5-leg push lower. So if it did take out, the lows here that we had at the high 98,000 area, our recent lows right here, it would be make for a nice 5-leg structure before the bigger rally, and you could form a really nice looking little divergence on the RSI here in the daily time frame. Again, told you at the top we we're going down to 100,000. Oh, gee, what are we at? We're at 100,000. I continue to be right. My signals continue to nail it. Continue to be mocked by the moon boys and their herd, but yet they continue to be wrong. What amazes me is that people keep believing them when they're the ones that told us we had a breakout and this whole thing was never going to happen. I think the stochastic can push back down a little bit lower, and we still might get one more flush out move before getting the bigger rally. You got a nice looking divergence trying to develop on some indicators. Now we're still below that 50-week moving average. I think you're going to try to bounce off of it. Even if we close it, you have to get confirmation and open and close below it. I think you're going to bounce here, and then I think you're going to end up trying to take it out. Now over here, it took about 5 weeks to confirm. We got to push below it and then attempted rebounds around it, kind of feeble rebounds. It took 5 weeks to confirm a bear market over here. The 5th week we closed, and then the 6th week we confirmed. But right now, I expect you're likely going to try to bounce in this area. I think it's going to fake out a lot of people. I do think we're going to eventually confirm a bear market. And again, if we do close this week below, on Sunday, if we close below the 50-week moving average, got a 50-50 sell signal, but then you need an open and a close below the 50-week moving average to confirm a bear market. I don't know that we do that. I think we're going to bounce towards that 200 in the daily first as we get a death cross in the daily time frame. Bitcoin weekly chart here. Talked about the warning signs on the monthly chart too, but again, people, this is what I used to call the top, the 2021 top. You got the same warning signs here. So I think we take out this long-term trend line right here, going back to 2015, and I think you eventually move to this trend line going back to 2018. It's not a bullish chart. This is a very bearish chart. If you believe this is a bullish chart, you are likely a perma-bull. This is not a bullish chart. And Elliott wave is speculation, but I think that, again, you've got your wave 1 done here, your wave 2, our bear flag. I told you that was setting up, and I was laughed at, and it played out. Right here, again, from this wave 2, I think you've got a 1 and a 2, and I think this is 3. Maybe 4 finished here. Maybe 4 is still under construction. We get one more push down. Better, you got a truncated 5th right here, where they're almost equal lows. Eventually, I think you get a bottom here with either right now or one more push down, and then I think you're going to rally back up. I think we'll complete the intermediate wave 1, and I think you'll get an intermediate wave 2 up here, and it'll be somewhere lower than 116,000, and likely a Fibonacci retracement. But again, I'll be looking for, do we get one more push down and then a rally, or do we just try it here and we've got maybe a truncated 5th? Right here, I'm marking it as a truncated 5th so far, but like I said, it would be a nicer setup if we get one more push down. You'd have a really nice looking divergence on the RSI and the MACD if that did happen. Regardless, whether we get one more push down or not to a new low, I think you're going to get a rebound back up in the coming days ahead, balance surrounding our 50-week moving average and Bitcoin's average price. What I'm saying makes more sense than anything else out there being said.